Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Let's bring you the front pages of the papers to expertly analyze what the top stories on the front pages of the paper are saying this morning. Is a seasoned global affairs analyst, a public speaker of repute, globally renowned, a politician.
And a journalist.
And a journalist, Dotun Ojon. In the studio with us.
Only for me.
Only for you,
And a father of beautiful
Please,
girls.
where's the bell? Ah, we did show without bell. We don't want that.
Somebody is trying to
Something
move
has
our...
been feeling incomplete today.
Maybe they are trying to
morning.
sabotage us.
You want to sabotage this.
Morning, Mr. Dr. John.
It's great to have you here.
Yeah.
It's a very cold morning in Lagos. Lagos is giving me London vibes this year.
I
And you
see.
know our London sister is here.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just that the streets of London are neater. But we'll get there someday.
Someday. Okay, let's get into the papers this morning. And the front page, let's start with Al Jazeera newspaper. On the front page of the Al Jazeera newspaper this morning, the big story is state police, federal government fixes date for consultations. As process of developing framework for implementation commences 2027, APC needs presidential campaign DG with national appeal, says group. We also have still on the front page, abducted Kebbi High Court judge regains freedom. Oof. Osun gubernatorial elections, APC people with disabilities mobilize support for August 15th D-Day. Alleged murder, troops exhume remains of community leader in Imo. What are these stories, my goodness? Kaduna government, UNICEF train local government chairman on financial management. Wike moves to resuscitate life camp recreational park. Is it?
For Abuja residents, it's nice.
NNPC unveils new petrol price. Please, what's the new petrol price?
I beg, let us unveil it now, please.
What are they unveiling? What are they unveiling?
We'll come to check what the new
If
petrol
that
price
new
is.
petrol price is not less than 1,000 naira.
We are not interested.
We're not interested.
Okay. Still on the front page, most painful experience at JAM was seeing parents organize exam malpractice. In fact, let's start with that one.
Yes,
Although it is
and I'm sure Mr. Ojon has a lot to say on that.
Yes.
Especially the erasure of morals and principles in our society. That's what leads to this sort of thing.
Okay, so my first major contact with ugly parental behavior was when I started what I call Campaign for Patriotism in 2008. And that led to Leadership for Student Initiative. The idea was just to allow parents to leave their children to live. It's very important. And
Is that not dangerous? You leave children to their own devices.
No, not devices. When you continue to want to corner them and give them a certain direction against their own wish, then it could be counterproductive. We've seen a situation where people, especially in rural communities, where parents will line up very close to the exam hall and they're trying to snuff in the answer results to the answers to the class. And it's very painful. In fact, we've also gone to a point now, and that's why I am of the opinion that many of the universities, especially the private ones, should actually be, I don't want to use the word regulated, should be looked into.
But
Lately we have...
causes, sorry to interrupt you,
Yeah.
what could, I'm just trying to imagine my parents assisting me in cheating, which would never happen. So what can lead to that sort of behavior? Is it that they don't trust their ability? Because you've paid school fees from JS1 to SS3. You've been buying books for them. They've been studying. Some of these students even have lesson teachers come to the house to teach them. So why don't you believe in their ability to pass on their own merit? Why do they need AI?
So I actually think it's the fear
Cheating
of...
assistant.
I think also it's the fear of either classism or what the community will say. I wrote JAM 3 times.
Damn.
Yes, nobody... Yes,
that's
nobody...
A whole you.
I wrote JAM 3 times. Nobody... In fact, nobody ever crucified me in the house because my father is an educationist. He knew that I needed... In fact, I spent about 3 years to get only mathematics. He never followed me to class. He just believed that once you keep writing, there was no any kind of stigma on me as a person. But most of the parents now are competing with their neighbor.
That's it.
They do not want, you understand, they do not want a situation where 3 kids will write JAM and it will now be their own that didn't make it to school. It's quite unfortunate. And I think that's where the community has actually pushed us. So until we get to a point that we understand that every child is differently gifted. In fact, a child who does not make it through JAMB today can actually make it with a first class tomorrow. One of the greatest benefits I've got, because I wanted to read political science, one of the greatest benefits I got from my parents was the ability to choose between what I really wanted and what was available. What was available then was, oh, yeah, go into the university, just enter.
Maybe you can
but
change
of course, yes, you can change and all of that. But my father was actually patient, and he understood the fact. Maybe he also went through the same part. He never told me how many times he wrote exam. The community was actually patient with me to become what I really wanted to become.
What did you eventually study?
I studied mass comm. Okay. I studied mass communication, and it was actually a product of the fact that my father had a meeting with me one day and said, with this your political science, what do you want to become? I said, I wanted to become a political correspondent. So he said, oh, okay, it's going to be better for you to actually go study mass communication. And when you come back, you can actually get those political experiences outside. And today,
I mean, to God be the glory.
So I think it's the pressure of the community. I wanted to talk about my experience in a university that I cannot mention. Do you know that people made first class in that university because they paid their way through?
Yeah.
And it was very...
That won't be surprising.
And it was very glaring, yes. And we could mention one or two names of people who said they came out with a first class. And you're wondering, how did you do it?
But this one, that maybe they were 2-1 and they used... Not like anyone is good, but they use money to augment themselves into first class, so it's complete olodo.
It may not be complete olodo, but the fact that you are even using money to augment yourself, yes, actually puts a question mark on the university structure
and the integrity of it.
Yes, and that's one thing you can tell. You can talk about this. The former JAMB registrar from Uni Ilorin, he's been consistent on the path of integrity, and he actually. He was able to lead JAMB with that kind of integrity. If not, maybe we will not be talking about what we're talking today.
Of course.
And I think that the new man will also take it a step further.
Okay, just to appeal to parents, you're not doing your children, you're not doing them good, you're not doing them a favor, and you can't be criticizing Nigerian politicians when you're the one paying for special centers, helping them to get yellow paper. I remember when I was writing JAMB, my dad said to me, if you fail JAMB, you write it again, no? Yeah. And this is someone that's a lecturer in university. He said, I am not going to ridicule myself by going to anybody's office to go and be begging them. Yeah. You know, so I knew that I had no choice. When I finished my JAMB, it was time for post-UME. I think I was the second set of, or the first or second set that began post-UME. When they started it, he said, as usual, you better meet the cutoff, because if you don't meet the cutoff, I will not go somewhere to go and beg. So he checked. Because the first list came out and my name wasn't there. So then he went to go and check my score. He warned me before going to check to say, if you don't meet the cutoff, you're not going. It turns out when I went there, I was now the second highest in my...
Wow.
Yeah, you know, I mean, intelligence runs...
It really shows.
It do show. That was what gave him the mind to say, okay, I'm going to go and see them and ask why your name isn't out on the list. What he said from the jump. And I think parents should take more firmer stances. It's hard. It's hard to see your child not do well. But what is worse is them cushioning them from the effect of reality and making them not, if they fail, let them repeat.
You can't cheat your way to
and at the end of the day,
and I'm happy you used, I mean, kudos to you for using yourself as an example, that you mentioned your university background and how you go into university. But what about primary and secondary school? Is it nil-nil?
No.
Is it dash?
I'm not. My certificate is not missing. Like, well, you can ask. I have primary school mates that I went to. I can name all of them. They can name me.
On this very important, because this is actually a very important conversation, the Deputy Governor of Lagos State had come out to say that the society is indirectly breeding broken children, in the sense that he now cited an example of how he...
but what is he doing about it?
Of course.
And the
do not replace the responsibility of parent with that of government. The mistake we are making is that people keep pushing their kids to school thinking that teachers will fix them. But traditionally, the first institution of socialization is actually the family. So what we are saying is that...
This problem that has reared its ugly head now, that is now becoming a major problem. Is it government or parents?
Okay, so that's government. But of course, there are people who really built their children to a point that when they get to the university, they cannot actually deviate. Can I tell you a very funny story of how, and this talking about alcoholism. So one day somebody was asking me, is it because of religion that you don't take alcohol? Then I told him about the story of why I can never take alcohol.
Oh,
I was a child. Then we were in a party. It was a family kind of party. So I didn't know that my father was actually looking at me through the window. Then I was dancing. I saw a man carry a cup of beer. So in my head, I thought the way he was sipping it, that is something that would be very sweet. So I started dancing around the man. Until I frustrated the man. The man gave me small to drink. And my father beckoned on me and called me. And my father can be so dramatic. I said, oh, you took beer today. He beat the hell out of me. Then now told me. About 4 or 5 years later, when I became a bit more independent, and my friends were sitting and they were drinking beer, and I wanted to take a cup. Immediately, I grabbed the cup. I remember the beating.
You drop it.
And I dropped the cup. And since that day, alcohol had never appealed to me. And that's what home training does. If you are properly trained, even when you have the tendencies of wanting to go left and right, that will actually guide you. And that does not take responsibility away from the government to also do what government is supposed to do.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's high time we jump into Osun State.
Yes.
What I would like you to know, that forms the crux of this newspaper today. A lot has been happening.
I think we should play that.
Let's play the video.
Start with that preamble.
Yes, that's a preamble. Even though we have it on the front pages of the newspapers, Benga also read it in the news, where members of Governor Adeleke have come out. They've had press conferences. They're saying what is going on. Why is it that we're the only ones that are faced with both judicial challenges, also faced with security, police, and so on? But the governor yesterday, in kicking off his campaign, gave a sound warning. And he said this. Let's listen. Let's listen. All right, so Osun State, you have it in some of the dailies, not all of them, but let's talk about what we just saw. It's build up and the countdown is on. I mean, you are son of the soil. You pay close attention to the Southwest as well in terms of politics, and in your political ambition, you've also identified the Southwest as one of the very interesting and strong political space. What do you make of what's going on in Osun State?
Okay, so I actually caught my political teeth in Osun State, and I lived there for about 7-8 years, and I worked very, very closely with former Governor Oyinlola, and learned a few things also from him. Now, this is an emotional display of a seemingly frustrated governor. And I can tell it to you that it is no longer funny if we get to a point where the governor is completely helpless, not just because he's running for election, but because of the fact that he is not having backing from the central. And let me tell you, the danger in our own kind of democracy. Once you build a democracy where people rely on one person to call everybody to order, then you are not building a proper democracy.
It becomes a cult of personality.
Yes. What we're supposed to build is a system that checks each other. Like if somebody is going astray, there's a system that has been put in place to actually check them. Now the president has not spoken about what's happening in Osun, and everybody thinks that he's in support. He might actually not be in support of whatever it is that is happening. Both parties are saying, oh, this one has done this and the other one has done that. But it's also a truism in the community place. The last time I visited, that if you look at the body language of the people, I mean the majority of people on the street, you will discover that they are somewhat tilted towards the part of Adeleke. But again, you know, I was sitting here and I said, whenever there's a contest between the people and the politics of the land, that the politics of the land always prevails in the case of Rivers State. And I came from Port Harcourt and I told you that I interviewed people on the street and everybody was supporting Fubara at that point in time. I do not want a situation where at the end of the day, the people of Osun will feel that they've been cheated in any way. What the governor is asking for is very straightforward. Free and fair election. Is anybody against that? Nobody should be against free and fair election in a community where we practice democracy. So my concern will be that if anybody, because except we want to just pamper the truth, it's been done before. When this governor first contested, you will remember when they declared that election inconclusive, we had come out to say that there was no single reason why that election should be declared inconclusive. Now the man is a bit apprehensive because he has walked that path before. And in the process of this talk, he actually made mention of something that is very germane. He said when, let me use the word, when he was actually rigged out through that inconclusive election, that he left Osun State and went to America for 4 years. That was when he earned his degree. That he was expecting that the former governor of Osun State will also leave him to do his tenure without any kind of interference. Because what is happening now is what we call the hand of Jacob and the... So it is very clear. So I want us to tread very carefully, and it's not because any crisis will break out. No, that's not what we are saying. It's just for us to see and practice democracy, not to be ridiculed outside and they just see us as a bunch of people who just
cannot organize
themselves.
You've answered part of my question in your submission, and the question is the governor, because when you saw that video, the first thing you saw, and for most discerning people, would say that he caught the figure of a very frustrated man. Yeah. Is he crying wolf, or there are legitimate grounds for him raising all this alarm? Because Mr. President, in his discussion with the Catholic bishop, said the opposition is afraid of its own shadows. So does he have legitimate grounds for all these issues he's raising?
I think it does, and it's very, very clear. And maybe background to this issue. Governor Adeleke had wanted to join the APC. In fact, he made several efforts. He went to Abuja on several times to actually say, to express his willingness to join the APC because of the obvious demise of one part of PDP. And in fact, Governor Wike had publicly come out to say that he called him and warned him not to try and contest election under the PDP at that point in time. So it was very obvious that the PDP was not, yes, was actually going
that
to...
they wanted him in the APC
so
or something.
He wanted to join the APC and went to Abuja, met consultation, met with the people. But the APC in his home state refused. And they said they did not want him in APC because they thought that in their thinking then that once he comes as the leader of the APC, he will automatically take over the structure and become the candidate of the party. And they were hungry to defeat him. In their own calculation, they didn't know that, they didn't think that he would be able to get a second term. So they didn't want it. They frustrated him, quote unquote. I mean the APC in Osun. And at that point, the leader of APC in Nigeria, President Tinubu, was actually helpless. If the people of your state said that they do not want you, that was why the governor went to a court party. In fact, the decision to get to a court party involved a lot of consultation with other political parties before a court party became his destination. Now, after I got to a court party, they took them to court again, wanted to deregister a court party. They are still fighting that in court. Then, don't you think it's legitimate for him to actually be a bit apprehensive? So if all of these efforts fail, at the end of the day, if he got a political party to flag his flag, if somehow in the court his party was unable to be deregistered, then he will be thinking that the last effort will be that some things might be done during election. And because of the perception of INEC, INEC is an institution, I actually pity INEC, but it's an institution that has a very terrible reputation coming out of the 2023 election. And it was because of the fact that they came out to say, oh, we are going to put the election online, the result will be transmitted live, and all of that. And on the presidential election, they went on break. So this has also put a question mark on the integrity of INEC. You know, when they even tested their beavers and their this thing,
yes,
a lot of them malfunctioned.
Yes.
And they've been back and forth about people cutting away voters' card. They've been back and forth about people buying voters' card. They've been back and forth about people actually bribing ahead of the election. And you know, politician, I'm not here to support any political party because this one will make allegation, the other one will also make allegation. But what we are seeing in Osun is a bit one-sided, in my own opinion.
Okay. There's also the case of the thugs going to the motor park, even when the governor, who says, like in that video, he said he's the chief security officer of the state. And that's the truth. He said he had demanded that the thugs don't go to the motor park. Any issue with National Union of Road Transport Workers be suspended. But he got a rebuttal. The NURTW boss, as it were, from Abuja said he has no right to tell him that. And lo and behold, before we could turn right, the CP was fingered, where we now saw police officers working with the thugs into the motor park.
And tear-gassing naval personnel.
And then tear-gassing naval personnel. You know, so it's been an issue, but right now it seems like there's apprehension because people are wondering if there is peace. But I must say, it's quite shocking. We also have a footage of, they had an in-house gathering of the Accord Party members, and the crowd we saw there was quite huge. And we said, okay, maybe there's really apprehension, but it seems like they're ready to brace the odds. But bottom line, what do you expect to see with this level of apprehension up and down? His SGF has been arrested, by the way. Other commissioners too. Nothing has been said. They've changed the CP. They now have a new one, CP Erale Taifo, while the former one, Ibrahim Gota, has been, removed. Okay, so he was actually not removed. He was actually... He was moved. He was, yes, he was redeployed to... So the intention of that was that he will not supervise the elections. But after the election, he will actually be coming back. He might be coming back. Yeah.
Let's
He's still handling some issues, special duties or something.
And that's why I say that. What do you expect a sitting governor to do if a particular organization, association, is partisan? NURTW is extremely partisan. And how do you know a partisan organization?
We know that. I mean, they
just
to
look
videos.
At the leadership of this thing and look at the political party they teach toward. And don't forget that these are the same set of people that INEC will use to distribute election
Absolutely.
material. So now, when you're using a partisan group of people to distribute election material on the day of election, there's already a question mark on the credibility of that election.
Why can't we use
Why
can't we use an independent transport organization? I mean, you have many of them.
They say the logistics, the cost.
No, but it also costs them logistics.
Yeah, they pay, it's not free.
It's also embedded on INEC's, if you check INEC's budget,
yes.
it's there. But you have independent transport companies. There are many.
In the Nigerian setting,
and they're all digitized.
They've been doing it since the past.
And Sanity is doing the same thing over and over.
And they're all
again.
digitized. You can find them on. They have apps.
For off-circle elections, there's no reason you want to give to use AURTW for off-circle elections. For national election, you may say, oh, because those people don't have enough and all of this. But for off-circle election, it's just talking to one of them in Yaba here or Jibowu.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want to mention their names.
Yes,
there are many.
You just bring them
They have
on
apps.
board. But as long as you continue to use partisan organization and union to distribute sensitive election material, man, we don't look serious. I don't know why this conversation
it's looking so
somehow.
unserious.
So you do not want the governor, you do not expect the governor to now fold his arms and actually be looking. And this is one of the biggest stories also on the newspaper. This is why a lot of people are now speaking against the issue of state police. Because if the governor too had access to state policing structure, maybe he too will now deploy as the chief security officer.
Federal police versus state police.
It's now
fire for fire.
Okay, there are some other stories. I want us to quickly be able to run into the point where I need to take a story over there. We will obey God, not man. PFN vows to defy...
Observer's time?
Yeah, still on the Observer's Times. We will obey God, not man. PFN vows to defy proposed ban on bus preaching. And I want to get your thoughts. I've seen different arguments on this. There are those who have argued that, look, we are a secular nation. Don't bring your faith and impose it on us. The others who say, if you are going to ban preaching on buses, that means you also ban those that are praying on the roads and on the streets. You know, so let me just get your thoughts on it.
Sometimes we look extremely unserious because in the first place, why should people be praying on the street? So in photography,
they say, let me quote PFN leader. He said he accused lawmakers of misplaced priorities, arguing that the legislature is focusing its energy on regulating religious speech while failing to address the worsening security crisis across the country.
I don't have any say in this. I want to make it to heaven. So,
I'm with you,
the rest of you should comment on this.
So the concept of, there's what they call overexposure in photography. And the concept of it is that if you do not regulate, you cannot get a good product.
If you don't dim your light.
You do not regulate whichever way you want to regulate.
Cut the ISO.
So that lays emphasis. If we want to grow as a nation, we need to regulate some of our religious practices. That is clear. That is what we need to work towards. But now, when you are now regulating one part of religion and leaving the other unregulated, then you have put a question mark. In fact, there's already a question mark on our constitution. In fact, I don't think I'm not sure it's longer, maybe it's no longer logical to call Nigeria a secular nation. Because if you have in your constitution the mention of some certain, or if some certain religion can actually make their own kind of law. I don't know whether you get what I'm saying. If we have all of these things, then it has already put a question mark on the integrity of what we call ourselves, which is a secular nation. But having said that, I think this thing will come across to everybody as misplaced priority. Because if you want anybody to set agenda for Nigeria today, maybe the first thing the person will say is security. Maybe the second thing is how to actually close the gap between the haves and the have-not. Those are major issues. But does that take us away from regulating our religion? No. Let's first of all pay attention to what will unite us as a people. And we make our people see us as a serious-minded. I do not, again I say it, I do not see any sense in people praying on the street. In fact, we should not even get to a point where we have loudspeakers all around our communities. But nobody is talking about all of those ones because we are already consumed by what is extremely important, which is the issue of insecurity. We are consumed with poverty, and these are the things that we must lay emphasis on.
I agree with you. I mean, we're also going too far. For some of them, when they go to the UK and they use the transit or whatever, they don't.
But some actually, there was a video that
I saw that video
last
too.
year. Quiet, they wrote it there specifically, that private, quiet area, and she said, you know,
she must sing.
She must
preach. She must shout. And of course, she got what
your freedom stops where you're offending other people's sensibilities.
Absolutely.
If you're preventing them from plying the road because you have religious obligations to pray, then you're violating other people's rights. And
Because they have the
people
right
want
to move.
quiet- if people want quiet in the bus and they don't want to hear your preaching, and there are people of other faiths there, then you're harassing them. Let's learn to be accommodating. That's my 10 cents.
And the way we practice religion here, if some of us have not had maybe deep training, anyway, I at a point when I was a bit confused about our own practice of religion, I had to go take a course. It's called systematic theology. And you discover that most of the things we do are pure doctrines, and doctrines are makings of man. And I've said it repeatedly, that in the pursuit of God, Nigerians found religion, but in the exercise of religion, they have missed God. Because we place this, if we don't do it this way, man, things will work. Without your religion today, things will actually work. And everybody that steals money in Nigeria today, that have stolen us to this point we are in, belongs to one faith or the other. In fact, I think we should even be praising the traditionalists, because you hardly see their list, you hardly see their names on the list of corrupt officials.
That's a big one.
People go to church on Sunday to shout hallelujah, and on Monday they begin to turn book. They go on Friday to pray in the mosque, and early morning on Monday they are looking for how to steal Nigeria blind.
Our politicians,
What are we doing?
If our politicians used to swear
What
out
are
of
we
office
doing?
by Ailala, Nigeria would be one of the
You
most...
know, Ilela is from my place. They've gone to bribe Ilela now.
Because that one is instant retributive justice. It's not a case of, it's not Chelu Kambia.
All right. Thank you so much,
Or
Mr. Ojon, for joining
It's
us.
instant.